My community inspires me. Music teachers who I've had in the past inspire me to do this work. Knowing that I come from a rich history of music teachers and musical legacy, it's inspiring me to continue on this path of promoting diversity in music education, giving students the autonomy and the opportunity to share their stories and their music. This work is so important to me because students, when they see representation, when they see themselves in the curriculum, they have an opportunity to shine. They have an opportunity to say, you know what, I can do that too. So that keeps me going, that keeps me inspired, that keeps me looking for new ways to be innovative, to be creative in my approach to reach students, and that keeps me like researching and understanding the world that we live in because times are changing. Our students are changing. Teachers are changing. Everything is evolving, and I want to continue to evolve. So my work is rooted in understanding who I am and then sharing my culture with my community, with students, with teachers, in hopes that it inspires them to share their culture with others as well. Wow, it's really funny. I didn't realize I was being culturally relevant. I didn't know that term, embarrassingly. I just knew when I got into the classroom, I was looking at the body language of my students. I was doing a lot of music that I had been taught at the university level that should work at the elementary level. And it wasn't working. The approaches that I was taking, the students didn't want to come to music class. They were like, oh man, I don't like music. And so I began to ask them questions like, what kind of music do you listen to? How could I incorporate some of the things that you consider to be music? And what I learned was they were listening to hip hop, they were listening to pop, they were listening to soul music, they were listening to country music, they were listening to techno and all of these different styles and genres of music. And I had an aha moment. I said, well, why am I not teaching and learning what it is that you love to sing and do outside of the music classroom? So a lot of it is bringing what they already know and using that as a springboard to take them further, to take them deeper into the content. So being culturally relevant was something that I kind of fell upon by understanding my students and understanding their ways to music, their ways to approach singing, movement, learning, dancing, improvisation. These were all things they were doing, but because of my filter, my perspective, I couldn't see the brilliance that they were bringing into the school. So once I was able to adapt my approach, that's when I was able to unlock teaching with joy, teaching with spirit, teaching with inspiration, because I was able to see the brilliance of my students. So culturally relevant is all about taking the students' experiences and finding ways to incorporate that into your curriculum where they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel appreciated for who they are and what they bring to the table. I realized that my students love this hip hop, they love all these genres of music. So I go to my teacher's manual, I open it up, I'm looking for all of the things, I put the CD player, the CD in the CD player and listen to the songs, and what I found was there was nothing, right? There was no curriculum, there was no ideas, there was no lesson plans that said, this is how you utilize hip hop in the classroom. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna start off with just reading rhythms, and I went on YouTube and typed in hip hop instrumental tracks. And so we started with clicking our rhythm sticks and reading rhythms to hip hop tracks. And immediately the engagement was through the roof. Students were taking ownership. They wanted to learn the rhythms. They wanted to get up in front of the class and show their mastery. And so from there, I said, you know what, if this is what keeps them engaged, if this is what keeps them excited, this is what keeps them coming to school, I have to incorporate more of this into my lessons. And so I just started to take popular songs that they were listening to and put a spin to it that had something to do with music. I started to just really think about how can I incorporate more of them in my curriculum. And it was hard because, you know, hip hop has a stereotype, right? It's gangster music. It's, you know, it's inappropriate for students. And so there was a chance I had to take. And what I want to just say about that is you can't do this work alone. And so I had an amazing administrator who was like, Franklin, go forth. I believe in you. Tie it back to objectives, tie it back to what are the kids going to walk away with. And so meeting with my administrator, I shared my lessons, I shared my ideas, and then I had that community. I felt empowered to try. So it won't be easy because music education, folks want to stay in one lane. We want to sing the classics. We want to do what we've always done. But our students are evolving and we must evolve with them. Will it be tough? Yes. Will it be worth it though? Absolutely. Because then students will be able to see like, oh my gosh, this music that I love outside of the music room, at home, at birthday parties, at family reunions, at church celebrations, I can sing this same music in school? Because I didn't have that opportunity, right? I didn't have that, that music teacher that understood that I had Motown and I had Stevie Wonder and I also had Tupac and my dad was listening to Snoop Dogg and my dad was moving and grooving and my mom was like, y'all better clean up on Saturdays while we got this music going, right? And then we're moving and dancing and cleaning and having fun. And then I go into the music classroom and it's so me, so me. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not music. That's not music to me. What about this music? And so it's a fusion. I'm gonna give you the so me, but I'm gonna do it with a hip hop foundation to get you engaged, to make something familiar. When something is familiar to you, you're more open to learn. And so our students, they're waiting. They're waiting on us to catch up to them. And I'll say this and then we can go to the next thing. Many times as educators, we feel we have to be the experts in the room. We do not have to be the experts. Our students want to see that we're learning too, because they bring with them so much information, so much culture, so many lived experiences, and they're waiting for us to tap into what they bring into the classroom. And when we do that, we humanize ourselves. We show students we still are on a journey of learning and education too. I haven't reached the mountaintop. I'm still learning with you. And when we do that, that's where community, that's where connection happens, and then that's where true creativity lies, right there. Until we do that, we're gonna continually be on this cycle of, they won't sing, they won't play, they won't. But when we tap into what they bring, which is so good, that's when true teaching and learning can take place. Yeah, the original arrangement to Equality for Maya Angelou, it has several instrument parts, and it's geared towards upper elementary, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade students. But if you don't have instruments, the way that you can adapt that is you can start with rhythm of the words first. If you can say it, you can play it. And then after rhythm of the words, body percussion is always a great next step to go to, because then you can get students alternating those hands, if they're patting, if they're stomping, whatever you choose for them to do. And then from there, you don't have to have hand drums. If you don't have hand drums, you can put it on tubanos. If you don't have tubanos and you have just djembes, you can put it on djembes. If you don't have any of that, you can find a desk, right, and play that. I do found sounds with the students. So there's so many ways that you can tackle this arrangement if you don't have those non-pitch percussion instruments. If you have the barred instruments, one of the things I did with the teachers is I just had them set up in C pentatonic, so C, D, E, G, and A, take off the F and B's bars, and just have them hit C on the 1. So 1 is gonna be C. And then 2, 3, and 4, they can fill in, but they always have to come back to that one on C. And I didn't come up with that. That's from Bootsy Collins, the bad bass player. He was like, always find the one. On the one, you hit the C, and then that's where you can do your improvisation on those 2, 3, and 4. But if you don't have instruments, find a way to just incorporate body percussion, rhythm of the words, and build from there. If your students can't do all of the ostinato rhythms, you can just choose the ones that work best for you. I did that with the 3rd grade class that I got to visit. We didn't get into all of the syncopation. We found one syncopation rhythm that they could do. We put them in a small group, and then the next group we put on my drums beat nightly, my drums beat nightly. And those two were able to hold together, and we were able to do the piece. So it's all about adapting to your students and your situation. You know your children best. To teachers who are wanting to try something new and you don't feel that you have all the steps, you don't feel that you are adequately prepared, find you a team of teachers that you can lean on. Find some colleagues who are doing this work, who are bringing in culture bearers into their classrooms, into their communities. Find those people who are already doing this work so that you don't feel that you're doing it by yourself. It can be very scary. It can be very vulnerable to step out. And then number 2, take the journey with your students. Let them know that you're wanting to do these new things in your classroom. Be very authentic with them. For some reason, as teachers, we don't share our authentic selves with our students. We want them to think we have it all put together and it's all great. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't plan, but I am saying that give them the opportunity to learn with you, because then that song, that performance will mean so much more to you and your students because you were able to go on that journey of learning with them. And then number 3, you're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen. It's okay. How do we correct those mistakes? How do we find ways to not repeat those mistakes, right? And the students will tell you. If you listen, the students are talking. They will share with you when things don't go right or when something is not correct. And so involving your community, finding some teachers that are willing to share and willing to grow with you, telling your students that we're going on a journey and we're going to be doing some new things in the music room. And then 3, finding a way to move forward and understanding that it's not going to be perfect, right? But it will be progress. As a music educator, one of your responsibilities is to know your audience, right? Know your demographics, know who you're serving, know the students in which you're going to be teaching. Know the community, know the parents, right? And what I found is communication is key, right? Communication and informing parents about what's going on in the classroom. Because students go home and they talk to their parents and they say, this is what we did in the music room, or this is what we did in the class today. And parents are asking. But if parents don't have that information, then that student's perspective or experience could shape how the parent sees what you're doing. And so I always tell music teachers, make sure you're in lockstep with your administrator and they understand in the music room for, if we're doing Black History Month, which I believe Black music should be in throughout the whole year. But if we're really focusing on Black History Month, parents need to be getting a letter in January that says, next month we're going to be studying Black history. Here's what we're studying. We're doing the history of hip hop. We're going to talk about the Harlem Renaissance and the composers and musicians that birthed a whole movement. We're going to be talking about the civil rights movement, or we're going to be talking about Broadway shows. It's so many different ways that you can do that, but information is key, right? And so I think if we really dive into communicating with each other, I think that will eliminate a lot of the barriers that exist. And then even when you communicate, for that teacher that says, hey, I send a newsletter home, I do all the communication, and my community is still not ready. It takes time. It takes time to build a diverse, culturally relevant, experience at your school. It just takes time. So I would say keep on the path, keep moving forward, and find key people in your community that you can bring in on your team to elevate your vision, elevate the program and the purpose. If we have a purpose, then that can drive us for all of the work that we're trying to do. And it has to be centered around the children. It has to be on the benefit for the children. The reason why I chose Maya Angelou as a foundation for this curriculum, because the MMEA convention was based on rhythms of equality. And her poem, Equality, spoke to me in such a powerful way. And it shared with me and showed me how far we've come and how far we have to go. And I feel that music education can be a vehicle for change. Music education can center the experience of someone like Maya Angelou, who has written beautiful poetry and used her life and her legacy to show students that you can be what you want to be, that you can strive for progress, and you can be a great person, and you can leave a legacy. And so I took that poem and then built out the rest of the curriculum to center the legacy of Maya Angelou, who is just phenomenal. She's a phenomenal woman. And to educate our students on who she was and why she did this work. And so that was critical to me, and bridging the gap so that students know that Black history is so important and so critical in this work that we do. And that has been one of the blessings that I've had in my career, is I've had some amazing classroom teachers who have said, hey, Mr. Willis, we're working on this, this, and this. Do you have any songs, any music that can go with that I can play during the lesson that ties into what you're doing? And when that happens, the light bulbs, like, the students are like, wait a minute, we did this in Mr. Willis' class, and we did what? How? And their mind begins to open up, and they begin to see the world with new eyes. So I think it starts with the music teacher. It starts with the music teacher having those conversations. Hopefully one day it'll start with an administrator who sees the joy and sees the importance of music, but you have to be the change that you want to see. And so being that change means that you may have to step up and say, hey, for the month of March is Music in Our Schools Month. I'm going to be incorporating these songs into my curriculum. Could you send me an email with your standards or what you're doing this year? And it can start just like that. And so once someone sees that you're willing to try and lend a helping hand, many times they'll do the same. So that collaboration is key.